Much. Oh, well.
All right, all looks good. So, welcome everyone to the Foolish Tech Show. It's a Tuesday, so hope everyone had a safe Fourth and didn't blow off any appendages or anything with explosives, fireworks, gunpowder.
Oh, listen, that was a cruel joke. Okay, it's way too soon for that.
Well, yeah, I guess if people did
stings.
do it just yesterday.
Well,
Yeah.
no, but I mean, you did see that story in New York, right?
Oh no.
No, but every year somebody blows up something with a firework, which is why fireworks are illegal in a lot of places now.
Yes.
Some populace just can't handle the gunpowder. So, anyway, we're here to provide support and answer any questions about our products or services primarily, but otherwise we'll fill the random air with blank space. No, reverse that. We'll fill the blank air with random space, and yeah, so if you want to join in that and take part, join our IRC chat over at foolishtechshow.com, foolishit.com/live, and you can join in there. And hey, Quark and Ian already saying hello, so welcome, guys.
Hey, guys.
Welcome, people. So yeah, what's going on? And Nick has a picture of Michael and the stingray that he did. You molested it, is that right?
Let's see here. Let's get that a little bigger.
Michael
there.
fought the stingray, and the stingray won.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what happened. So, to my knowledge, he tried to get away, so he grabbed at it.
I'm trying to return it to the sea.
The stingray is my new friend.
It was.
Michael watched a little too much Finding Dory.
Yeah, there was a little bit of a miscommunication. It's been a long time since I've brushed up on my stingrays, and yeah, we didn't kind of understand where each other was coming from, and that's where we bumped heads a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I hope that it's doing okay. I hope that it made it back into the sea, and I hope that.
Oh, it did. I helped it. I couldn't let it die after it gave me so much entertainment.
Thank you, Tank. Thank you. And I hope that little hole in its mouth has hopefully since healed. My little, not that you guys could see it too well, but my finger prick thing, or the finger barb, you can't see. Maybe you can. Yeah, there it is. It's doing okay. It's healing. It's not getting infective. It's not red or puffy or anything like that. So I think I'm gonna be fine. And just a little scar, of course, but it's one of those cool, joint places where it won't really matter anyway. So that's good.
Well, this next link is just for Michael. It's the Disney Finding Dory Mr. Ray ride-on pool toy.
Yeah, my parents actually my parents saw this movie yesterday actually, and they enjoyed it very much, and they said it reminded them of me because apparently there is a stingray character in it. I was not aware of that, but that apparently is the case. So.
Yeah, I was purchasing my daughter a birthday present yesterday and noticed the stingray toys.
Yeah. I wonder, did Disney and I talk prior to this whole 4th of July weekend to get this set up? I don't know.
I doubt it. You'd never talk to anybody that big.
Oh, you underestimate me sometimes.
They would have asked for your address and you would have threw in the towel.
Yeah, you're probably right. Uh, anyway, but that was kind of interesting. It's also interesting that my dad usually too. I don't ever consider, I never would have thought he would have seen an animation, but I don't know if my mom convinced him or what the story was, but apparently was enjoyable for the both of them. So that's good praise for the movie. If it
Your mom and dad went to see Finding Dory
yeah, they did
just by themselves.
absolutely by themselves.
Are you sure they didn't like just get lost?
I'm pretty sure they were
They
looking.
went up to the movie counter and was like, "Just give us any tickets. We don't really watch previews." The person was like, Finding Dory." That's the safest bet
Yeah,
for two
John,
old people.
my picture is right here. Yeah. Who else is in that photo? John, I mean, who are you? I think they know what the stingray looks like. Do you have to put a name by the stingray? What did you label the water and the sand too? That might be useful for some.
What is that white stuff there? And weren't we gonna call him Michael Seaman from now on? Because he's a sea person. I guess it's gender biased to call it seaman.
A sea person. No, definitely. When it comes to this, don't we have somebody in IRC saying something? Surely.
No, just me talking about the stingray.
Oh, come on, guys. Pork. Ian.
Well, Michael, you're supposed to be the one talking about Dune all day today because of your stingray encounter.
Yeah, I can do that. Although I'm not really clear it's that related, but
you were the one saying it was related.
Well, it reminded me, I guess, a little bit of
the fight of the stingray. Were you like
trying
to keep the spice flowing, or?
Well, yeah, it kind of like felt like fighting a sandworm to some extent, I'd say. In fact, more even appropriate. There were well, okay, post the God Emperor of Dune. Basically, a lot of there was a big shakeup in the universe. Obviously, having the same ruler for a couple of 10,000, for like 20,000 years tends to change things, and things would obviously change back afterwards. So one of the things that they had done was actually transplant some of the worms from Dune to other worlds. They also apparently genetically engineered the sandworms. In fact, introducing apparently a seagoing variety as well, without an aversion to water. So that these were the later books done by his son and who's that other guy? I forget. But yeah, that was remind me a little bit about it. Although I must say I'll always consider the worms to be a staple of Arrakis, and what they may have done other and outside of that is more of an aberration than
No way, it's definitely a sea worm now.
I think they took it a little bit too far. Now it's certainly understandable, but
they add lasers to it, because if they didn't,
they didn't flesh out the. Yeah, they didn't flesh it out too good. I mean, I kind of felt like, why did you even bother to put it in? I mean, they had a purpose, let's say, but it was minimal for taking the few pages to describe the whole situation. It's like they probably could have just thrown those pages out, and it really wouldn't have affected the story. So whenever there's any kind of literary device like that seems just so fragile, it's I worry about it. But let's see, where was my references here? Let's see, because I was going to talk about this the other day. Okay, here we go. So I don't know if you guys are all familiar with the original 6 Dune novels, but
please explain those first.
Okay, well, there were 6 books: Dune, Dune Messiah, Children of Dune, God Emperor of Dune, Heretics of Dune, and Chapter House Dune, as you might imagine. Like I've already mentioned, the God Emperor. Obviously, that's talked about in the 4th book there. Dune and Dune Messiah are sometimes combined, or and sometimes Dune Messiah and Children of Dune are combined, as was the case in the sci-fi retelling of it. But basically, Children of Dune is Paul's offspring. Paul Atreides, son of Duke Leto Atreides, was ended up. You might think, if you didn't know the story better, you might think he was the God Emperor, but that's not the case. Actually, the God Emperor is his son, Leto II. Had a very long rule, as I mentioned. Let's see what else, but I would like to point out on that page that I posted there, the 6 books at the top don't even come close to the 3, 6, 9, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Oh, wow. Okay, like the 30 some odd. Oh no, are those his books? Oh, these are non-Dune novels. Okay, yeah. So about 20 books here. 3, 6, 9, 10, 12, 13, 15. Sorry. I can't count. But there's several books here that I haven't actually read yet. The ones I haven't read are Navigators of Dune, Mentats of Dune, Sisterhood of Dune, and The Winds of Dune. I have read Paul of Dune, Hunters of Dune, Sandworms of Dune. The Sandworms of Dune was, of course, if you look at the title of that, you'll see them in the ocean. That was, of course, what that book was about, basically sandworms on a lot of different worlds.
The ocean worms, sea worms,
whatever you want to call them. Yeah.
Sea sandworms.
Yeah.
Hey, have you read this one? 4-foot tall robot transforms into a car in seconds.
What does that have to do with Dune?
I don't care. It's a 4-foot tall transformer, and it transforms into a car.
Okay.
That's awesome.
As I mentioned, there were some historical books also published by Brian Herbert and Kevin Anderson. Yes, I've read House Harkonnen. I started out with House Atreides, House Harkonnen, and House Carino. I read those 3 first, and then I proceeded in order, actually, through the Butlerian Jihad, the Machine Crusade, and so on. But the Butlerian Jihad and the Machine Crusade, I thought were really interesting, books, given the backstory of the Butlerian Jihad, basically. And they wrote that across 2 books. These books are substantial, I might add. And the fact that
Michael, what were you calling that animal while you were like grabbing its tail?
Huh?
Were you calling it a stingray?
I don't know.
Really knowing that Sting is in the name.
Yeah, well, Sting is in Sting's name too. It's a police sting, and he doesn't tend to bite.
While Tank was yelling, "Don't touch the tail."
This English language that I'm supposed to understand on demand is questionable. But at any rate, I don't. You know what? The one thing I don't actually like about these new covers on the books. When I had these books, they had the different color covers. These are very much covers that came about in the 90s, I believe, but the 1990s. But I kind of like the original plainer covers. But that's just an opinion there. Let's see. Navigators of Dune. I bet that's a great book. Has anybody else read out there? Any of the Futures crew? If any of you guys have read the follow-up books, let me know what your opinion is. I know that Eric there, I believe probably, he's read these. But yeah, I really like the Machine Crusade and the Valerian Jihad. Those were good. Actually, all these books are good. I haven't read one yet that has let me down terribly. It's consistent, if anything else. Although it is, I guess, with as many as he's put out now, it does seem to be methodical. I think it was planned out. It wasn't maybe as haphazard as Frank's originals, I would say, but that's no criticism. The other I wanted to show you guys a couple of other links related to Dune and discuss.
Car is awesome, but it needs to be able to carry a kid with it somewhere.
Okay, the transforming car.
See.
Yeah. I don't know if I would have.
Oh, that would be cool. It can walk itself into
prototype transforming vehicle.
So
Sounds dangerous.
to take more responsibility off of the kid.
Yeah, the Dune video game. Does anybody ever remember playing the Dune video games, guys? There were, I think there was 2 of them, which was interesting. And David Lynch, by the way, if anybody's a Lynch fan, did do the movie version of Dune in 1984, and it was a great movie. I really liked it. It was close enough, captured the story fairly well, although they did kind of throw in some things for the sake of special effects, I would say. I talked about that a little bit previously in the sonic sort of weapons. That really wasn't part of the book at all. Let's see. The House Carino, if anybody wants to know, the emperor of the ruling house of the known universe is House Carino at least in the time period of the original Dune book. The emperor was Shaddam Carino the Fourth. And all the wealthy families in the universe were addicted to spice, effectively, because, well, it made.
That's kind of like this.
What's that?
This so in Japan, they had a VR porn convention.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was
down
popular. It was a little too popular. Yeah.
It was overcrowded and had to be postponed and evacuated immediately.
Well, yeah, I think the turnout was a little bit more than they had imagined.
They looked at VR porn like spice.
They'll do it again. They'll get it up and running, and they'll have the appropriate accommodations, hopefully, for the larger gathering. And
entire football stadiums.
Safety.
That's soccer over there.
Hopefully, I hope they put safety first. Obviously, if there's some sort of problem at this for people's health and well-being with the VR, getting sick or whatever else may or may not happen in an environment like that. I hope that that's well controlled. So
people getting sick with VR porn.
Well, if you've been into VR for 30 hours or something, I don't know. I could see people, doing marathon VR sessions and having some problems as a result.
I would hope they would put cleanliness first.
Yeah, well, that's another problem. People may get lost in their virtual reality endeavors and may not be as aware of the cleanliness of their real life environment. So at any rate, please go read the Dune books. Phrasing, yes, phrasing. There is a good little few pages about Dune covered in this site. This is and let's just talk about the known universe. What is the known universe? When you talk about Shaddam Fourth being the emperor of the known universe, what do you actually mean? Well, it's the area of the universe that was explored and documented by humans. Easy enough, right? The known universe. Well, there's a couple of more. If you look at the history of the known universe, there's a couple of more. There's a couple of periods of time that the known universe changed in size, and those occurred during two times. Basically, when space folding was invented, obvious reasons, and then when the scattering occurred, and that's the scattering. It was an interesting time period for the Bene Gesserit. This period occurred after the death of Leto Atreides the second. Now this was the God Emperor of Dune, and there was big issues. Basically, Ix, the world of Ix, which was ruled by basically machine people, or they were the computer guys. These guys, for a long period of time, made non-thinking machines, but they basically always had the capability, basically, to just flip the switch and create, machine intelligence that would rival the navigators in their ability to do space folding. And we'll get into space folding in a little bit, but basically the Ix guys, they were able to do a couple of things. They created things called no ships. The cool thing about it is these were effectively blocked from prescient sight. So everybody who took massive amounts of spice eventually developed some sort of prescient thought. In other words, you can sort of see the future. This obviously gave huge advantages to people that could afford the amounts of spice and the addiction to spice, and the ruling families, and this obviously made them virtually untouchable compared to the general populations. At least that wasn't by design. I mean, I don't know, maybe it was by design, but you typically have to. Spice is not cheap, and being that at least originally there was only one source of it in the entire, again, known universe. The wealth and spice kind of went hand in hand, and they. But basically, some Bene Gesserits got into no ships, and they went off out into space, and that brings a whole nother story, I believe, to the table. And hey, listen, futures people, if I'm saying anything wrong about any of this, or if I'm, it's been a while since I've read all these books, and if I'm confusing some things, please let me know. Let's see. Yeah, he was a 10,000 year gathering. Let me see. Okay, so let's see. Space travel.
Hey, are you excited about this? Samurai Jack is coming back for season 5.
I don't know who
That's
Samurai Jack
awesome.
is. Okay, so
What?
I don't know.
Never seen Samurai Jack?
No.
Have you ever watched Batman's animated series?
No. Well, I mean, maybe when I was young or something, but
It was like the best Batman version ever.
interesting. So space travel. So space travel in the Dune universe is interesting. There's a couple of different types of space travel. There's I guess the slower than light travel, the inner, the within the solar system travel type thing. Is definitely out there, but there's basically faster than light travel and folding of space. And the folding of space was actually a technological thing. It wasn't just didn't come as a side effect of the spice or anything else. It actually is technology based upon what's called the Holtzman Effect. And the Holtzman Effect, it was discovered. They covered this in some of the other some of the additional books, but basically it was a field that could be used to do several things. It was basically what was the basis for the shields in Dune. They had these repulsor shields where any fast-moving object couldn't go through them, and these shields were so capable they put them on ships. You couldn't launch projectiles, any projectile, whatever it was. as long as it was moving at a sufficient speed, which it typically would have to. We all know that the two things that imply a greater force is the speed and the mass. And so typically you want a combination, of both, a heavy projectile, a massive projectile going at a high rate of speed, and so things like a gun and any sort of other weapon like that would be meaningless after this. In fact, the death rates dropped dramatically, I believe, in the universe once the shields came about, and so. It wasn't just the folding of space that was that was a big thing. This the Holtzman Effect did a lot, including
just as
globes.
interesting, Michael, just as interesting. In that link that I posted about Samurai Jack, if you look at the picture and the video clip, he actually has blood all over him, and that's one of the big things about Samurai Jack is they never had blood in it. He was always fighting robots, so we would get robot oil all over him. But it's like one of the, so it's like he would go through and slash and kill like hundreds of enemies in like this super samurai way, but it would be bloody and gory, but it wouldn't be blood and gore. It would just be like robot parts and robot oil over him. But it looks like in this clip he has actual blood on him, so it's going to be much scarier. He's going to be fighting off people, cutting them in half. All right, go on about your space folding. Completely related topic.
Okay. Oh no, I take that back. So the old FTL. Apparently, all travel in space in the Dune universe is faster than light, which is interesting. And so. And that's conventional. So this is actually completely against the laws of physics as we understand it. So this is where Frank Herbert may not have been the most sound in his physics background, but I would have preferred he could have kept the story the same and basically had slower, more conventional sublight travel as well as space folding, and that would have been completely consistent with most other tales with quote unquote faster than light travel, but at least believable ones that don't violate the laws of physics as we currently understand them.
That's possible, Quark. He could have attacked a strawberry jam monster, but unlikely. He's already killed like 4 of those. So.
Oh, is that a common foe in that universe?
No.
So basically so the in order to the Holtzman, the problem with the Holtzman effect is that it well, let me complete the background. So it can be used as shields, suspensors, so it has a repellent effect on physical objects. So you basically don't have to worry about gravity. So as you saw in the original Dune, when they were transporting spice and stuff, those suspensors, those things that they were carrying them, the heavy stuff on, or what looked like the heavy stuff, was based upon the Holtzman effect. So basically, the whole Dune movie, it was basically an advertisement for this Holtzman effect. And they never really explained at all until after the 6 books were done, which is kind of funny. Now the glow globes, which basically are all the lighting on Dune is glow globes, from what I understand. I don't know how you could have such a monopoly on lighting in the future, but whatever. Apparently, these are self-powered or organic-like devices that produce. They not only they float, and they also because they use a suspensor field, but they also glow. And the most common Holtzman effect that we typically associate, the big effect that we typically associate with it is, of course, the space travel. And this requires a large amount of spice. Basically, it's their prescient planning that allows them to tell it, because they could fold space, but you could end up in the center of a star, let's say, or inside of a planet, or just not where you want to be, and they need to be able to effectively see the future. Again, this is sort of a weird concept because this is like faster than light signaling for kind of thought. I mean, you can't like send out a sensor and be able to say, oh, that's where I want to go over there. Well, it's too far away for any of your sublight things. But space folding. So Quark, Eric, Shri, can anybody explain to me why space folding was even necessary if they already attained faster than light travel? It would seem that I mean, yeah, I understand maybe folding is faster still, but it would seem not that as big of a deal. But I guess that goes along with the machine revolution and the Butlerian jihad and all that. Let's see. Apparently, the old method, the faster than light travel, was called. They termed it outracing photons. Ha ha ha. And the Holtzman engines were actually considered to be less reliable technologically. But there was apparently a huge speed difference between the traditional faster than light and the Holtzman, which, okay, so faster than light but finite speed. See, that's where I don't quite understand. I mean, theoretically, faster than light. Anyway, the physics in Dune is questionable, I'll just say. So let's see. What does this bring us into? Space folding was far faster but more dangerous. Yeah. Time dilation effects. Oh, the time dilation. Yeah. Okay. Maybe that's a good. Cool. Well, thank you, Eric, for clarifying that. Let's see. Spacing Guild. Do we need to talk about them? We pretty much covered them, didn't we? So one of the things that was interesting about Leto II, given his long rule, he was the most prescient of all the characters. He was a Kwisatz Haderach. There are actually multiple of those. That's not a single person, but once you achieve that level, I guess. Anyway, he had what was called the Golden Path, as I recall from the God Emperor book. He kind of saw how everything was going to happen, and he kind of used his best judgment on what had to occur. So even if it was sometimes, he did some pretty horrible things. Most people hated the God Emperor, not the least of which was probably the fact that there was no voting involved in his 10,000-year reign. And he did whatever he wanted to, and you really couldn't. He was immortal. I mean, he could see everything coming. So basically, he actually had. They can grow people. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but I believe it's the Bene Tleilax. They kind of were the genetic engineers of the Dune universe, and they were isolationists. They made these Golas, these kind of clones of people, and they traffic in basically biological body parts. Kind of creepy, I would say, race of people, but and they also have the face dancers, which can apparently, was just like it sounds. They're basically mimics. Oh yeah, poor Duncan Idaho. So Duncan Idaho, yeah, poor Duncan Idaho. One could argue that the entire Dune, the entire original Dune was basically the main character, the whatever. It was Duncan Idaho. In fact, it was more about him. And in some ways, you could argue that Duncan Idaho had a longer lifespan than even the God Emperor. He was, but not a single lifespan. He was reborn countless times. In fact, the God Emperor of Dune went so far, pissed Duncan off. This guy was the supreme fighter. This guy was the pinnacle of everything. Everyone loved him. He was the supreme commander of all the forces. Everybody, Duncan was just the best. I mean, he's kind of like, I don't know, a Rambo-esque, figure, I guess. I don't know. Maybe not Rambo-esque, but very capable person. And he, the God Emperor pissed him off, and the God Emperor kept bringing him back to life. And Duncan don't like this shit. Duncan would rather just die and get out of it. And he has
Watch your language, Michael.
practical things to do. And not talk with a big worm. And by the way, when you talk about God Emperor, he did actually transform into a worm. He consumed so much spice he became a worm. So he was not
Did
as
he sting you?
no, not as big
Is that where
as
the sea sandworms originally came from?
no.
There's
But
people doing spice.
But interestingly enough, he also produced his own spice, being a sandworm. Basically, sandworm crap is spice, from what I understand. He kind of, his gut basically just produced it. But at any rate, Duncan tried to kill the God Emperor, and would try repetitively. Every time he was reborn, he would try to kill him, and he would try new ways to kill him. Every single day for 10,000 years, he tried to kill the God Emperor, and failed every single time. I take that back. There was an exception, but the God Emperor allowed it to happen. It's kind of funny. The God Emperor saw his own death and knew when his own death would occur. Fascinating. I kind of liked the story of Leto II. It seemed far more dramatic, far more deep, far-reaching than the Paul's sort of limited prescient vision had. Paul was interesting, but it truly was Leto II that kind of brought things to a whole new level. I could go on and on. What else? Let's see. There's so many things and side stories.
What's your favorite character out of all of this stuff?
Favorite character? It's not going to be Paul.
You mean Muad'Dib?
Yeah, I wouldn't say
God Emperor. You've talked a lot about him.
Yeah, I would say he was the most interesting, but I would as far as power, but I think Duncan was I kind of like Duncan. What's your thought, Eric? I mean, I know you have an opinion on this. Who was your go-to guy in the books? I mean, who did you think about when you dreamt after reading them? This is starting to sound weird now.
So it was very weird.
The tanks where they grew people, Shri? Yes, they were grown in tanks. So the golas were grown in these tanks, which were basically artificial wombs. Actually more like real wombs. Let's see. Sorry, you're having some problems. Something's choppy. Quark and Filth are confirming the choppy.
Yeah, YouTube does say that the stream quality is bad. Proctor, stop watching Netflix.
I'm not. But yes, it's dropping frames.
So let's talk about the lifespan of the sandworm. This will make us understand a little bit how the spice comes into play here, as it's actually a byproduct of a biological process, the sandworms. So basically, sandworm babies are called sand trout, and it's kind of weird how they're described. So basically, sand trout bind water in Dune. So it's kind of funny. The sandworms depend upon sand, and they don't like water. Okay, so it's one of the few things that would potentially hurt or kill them is water. And it's funny, the sand trout love water. They bind water, and when they do, sand trout plus water plus fungal excretions make what's called a pre-spice mass. They would be exposed to the surface by explosions of pressure. I guess that builds up the gases that I guess are released in this. And given the environmental conditions, that pre-spice mass would eventually turn into melange. And when sandworms die, they release sand trout into the environs, and this is
Thermos, I don't know if it is a fictional book. It could have been set far, far in the past, and we just haven't discovered this universe yet. But somehow with Spice, a sandworm, talked to these people and made them write all these books about it.
So at any rate, the way Paul became a worm, it wasn't just that he ingested spice, but basically he got sand trout to kind of take him over, and I believe the sand trout did the kind of converting him into a worm. I think it's. I mean, you might argue that a human plus sand trout equals sandworm. So I don't know. It's a little bit weird. That's kind of odd, and they didn't go into a whole lot of detail. I don't recall in kind of making all that jive and understanding how exactly that worked, and why truly that he had the same perfect life cycle as an actual sandworm. That's a little bit interesting.
So Paul was the God Emperor?
No, Paul was not. Leto II, Paul's son, was the God Emperor, and Paul had two children. No, his son took that name when he rose to power.
Italian Godfathers, or what?
It's Leto.
Hey, Leto, get over here.
What do I need to do? So Duke Leto Atreides II, or not Duke, but Leto Atreides II ruled from the year 10,205 to the year 13,724. Wow. So, it's only 3,000. I thought he had a 10,000, 3,500, and ruled for approximately 3,500 standard years. I thought he was supposed to have a 10,000 year rule. Yeah. So the God Emperor is actually the second son of Paul. Paul had twins, Chani with Chani, if you remember from the first one, and let's see. No, I guess Leto was born with that name. Yeah, I think Paul did give him that name. I think it was Leto and Ganima were the names of.
So he did name his kid Leto.
I think so, as I recall.
After the Italian Godfather.
And Phil is saying it's unwatchable, so I don't know what's going on with your guys' bandwidth, but
yeah, YouTube is saying it's better now, so maybe it was a combination of the receiving and broadcasting it. But who knows? It'll be better on the repost. So
yeah, Paul's first kid was killed. Let's see, I forget, how did that work out?
Who is Paul's grandmother?
And Paul's grandmother, Paul's mother was the Lady Jessica. She was a Bene Gesserit. And who was her mother?
Yep, that was the original
Was she a
question.
Harkonnen?
Your grandmother is.
Harkonnen? I kind of vaguely remember her being partly Harkonnen.
I don't know. Pull out the family tree map. Someone has got to have done a family tree of the Dune characters, right?
You know what? That's a good point. Yeah, somebody's got to. Yeah, where would that be? Oh, here it is. It's in the wiki. So let's see if we can clarify this. Oh, whoops. Paulus Atreides. Paul Atreides. Okay, there's Leto Atreides. Okay, so wow, this is complicated. Lady Jessica, yes, was the daughter of Vladimir Harkonnen. And Gaius Helen Mohiam. Yeah, oh, so she was basically Gaius Helen Mohiam, she was the grandmother. She was like the queen of the Bene Gesserit. She was like
see that on that map.
Her real name is Tenidia Neris.
Like on that map above Paul Atreides, it just goes to like one person.
No, it goes. Paul Atreides goes to Leto. Goes to the line with the marriage line between Leto the First and Lady Jessica.
Where are you seeing Lady Jessica?
You don't see the Lady
Jessica? That's not Paul's line. Paul's line is the ones that go above it are his parents, and there's only one person above Paul.
No, it's Leto and Lady Jessica. What are you looking at? Scroll. But anyway, all the royal houses seem to be intertwined. There's House Carino, House Harkonnen, House Rachis. All of these help to basically build up the genetic experiment that was.
Oh, I was looking at Paulus.
Oh, there you go. Yes, there's similar names.
Why does he only have one parent?
Yeah, that's a good question. Good question. I don't know. Maybe it's just unknown. That's a real good question. Hold on. Oh, wait. No. Okay, so Vorian Atreides and Miklos Atreides got married. And I think that's what produced Keen.
You're hurting Cherie. Did he read all that?
Yeah, Mother Superior. Yeah, Mother Superior. Queen. Yeah. Yeah. You're right, Mother Superior. Yeah, they were kind of like a group of nuns, I guess. I was raised Catholic, so it was always common for me to consider them to just be nuns. Because they basically had the same type of garb. They dressed similarly. It's kind of funny, and the whole setting of the book is in the Middle East. I mean, basically, it's Bedouin.
Dune was in the Middle
culture.
East.
Yeah, I mean, that's everything. Every name of something on Dune is basically an Arabic name. I'm sure that doesn't give it much popularity these days, but it's interesting to look at the cultural similarities between the Fremen and Middle Eastern tribes today.
Did you have any of those little snap poppers fireworks?
Me?
Yeah.
No,
You
no.
know, like the little snap pops. It's like gunpowder, and you throw it on the ground and it pops.
Yeah.
Yeah. So apparently you can get silver out of those. It looks like with a laser. I didn't read the article, but
Okay.
you don't want silver?
No, yeah, silver's all great, but I'm sure you're not going to make a profit buying these things and extracting silver from it.
Why not?
Because they build the silver into the cost of the item, meaning that what you're paying for it is going to be more expensive than the quantity of silver that you will remove from it.
Plus, it's going to take quite a bit of resources to get a little bit of silver.
Yeah, power a laser. Yeah, the electric bill alone.
They were saying it was alchemist, so it could be like if you shine it with a laser into the gunpowder, it makes silver. So like they didn't have silver before, you actually had to make it into it. I think that'll work.
That's interesting.
So maybe that's it. Maybe, yeah, someone should read the article and find out. Is that what you're doing, Michael?
Yeah, is that correct? Did Paul have a child before the twins?
What?
And he was dressed in silver.
Did Paul have a child before
that's where it came from.
Or am I?
What about this? Isn't this weird? Blizzard sues Overwatch cheat maker for copyright infringement. So someone made a cheat for a game, and they went after him for copyright infringement.
Do
you think they have a case?
I mean, they might have. I don't know if it's. Those laws aren't very well written. It very well may apply. Is what I'm getting. I mean, I don't think it should apply, but I think the way the laws are written, I think it can and might in this situation.
Especially if it's in their terms of service or the I agree copyright software stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm sure they have grounds for this. I wouldn't be surprised if it was allowed to move forward. Whether or not anything will come of it, it's another matter. But
It looks like they did.
Yeah, it's funny. The eating spice has some side effects to children inside the womb. It basically causes you to get opened up to genetic memory. One of the things that the Bene Gesserit have are basically a genetic memory. They kind of contain the memories of their previous Reverend Mothers. Anyway, they have a tremendous amount of experience. Basically, they have they pass on, they pass on knowledge through their lineage. Okay, literally. Meaning that you could be 10,000 years removed from an earlier Bene Gesserit and still have her life experiences to work off of, giving them extraordinary insight, and they're usually advisors to the houses because of that. But at any rate, the baby in the womb gets exposed to all of that, and so they come out mature, basically. they come out talking like they're 10,000-year-old humans, basically.
Like Paul's
Um,
sister.
Huh?
Wasn't that Paul's sister
Well,
in the movie?
yeah. So Paul's sister had the same basic thing happen to her, and yeah. So basically, his twin children also had this happen. In fact, there was a situation, I believe, where Paul was able to actually aim a weapon based upon what his son was witnessing. So, in other words, seeing through his son's eyes, as it were. Um,
What's the Dark Tower series? What's Luther? You know what all those are, Michael?
Dark Tower's a Stephen King thing. It's got all his characters in it from settings from like all of his different books. Major ones anyway. I read some of it. I didn't quit reading it. Tank's read them. I don't know if
Quark says Idris Elba is going to be the main character for the Dark Tower series. And yeah, the stream is going to be really choppy because Proctor is watching The Orange is the New Black. All right, well, do you have anything else, Michael?
No.
You got 3 more minutes of Dune time. And you're just going to waste it by giving it up?
There's just so much. There's so much to go into. I don't even know.
Did any of them have pets?
Did any of the Dune people have pets? Well, there was a whole species of people that were, I believe, were they cat people? I want to say they
like from Red Dwarf?
I want to hold on.
Have you seen Red Dwarf, Michael?
Yeah, a little bit.
That had a cat person.
Oh, that's a real cat.
Are you trying to look up cat people from Dune?
Yes. I vaguely remember there being futars. Primitive and fierce humanoid creature, a genetic mix of man and cat, artificial created out of the scattering to hunt honored maters. Yes, I love futars. Oh, they were so cute. Oh, and there were the mouse, the desert mouse that Paul was named after. That may have been a pet, possibly.
That's a way better cat person. That video. That was a great show. We should have a whole day on that show.
Well, that's I remember. God, that's such an old show. that wasn't exactly what the futars were like.
Yeah, that's a great show, though.
Futars had handlers, humanoids, that trained them to hunt the honored maters.
He didn't have any handlers.
No.
He was the last of his generation, though.
Oh, I think the Lhasa tigers were also domesticated to some extent, possibly. They were native to Seleucus Secundus, where they trained the Sardaukar.
They had tigers for
the
pets?
troops. Yeah, I mean, it was a rough world. They basically tortured people their entire lives, and then that's when they got into the special army. And of course, they had tigers as pets, I think.
All right. Well, we have reached our hour time, so great talking about Dune for the past hour. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Sorry about the choppy stream. I'm sure Proctor will be done binge watching Orange is the New Black tomorrow, so it should be better.
Yeah, almost through it.
Yep. Hope everyone has a good Tuesday, and again, hope they had a safe and happy holidays and are fully recovered and ready to get some stuff done. So see y'all tomorrow at 2 p.m. Otherwise, later, y'all. Thanks so much.